We raised the legal age to purchase firearms and ammunition in Rhode Island. We banned large capacity magazines. We stopped people from buying guns for others who can't legally own them. Made sure only law enforcement officers could bring firearms to school property, and prohibited open carry of a loaded rifle and shotgun in public. Not any one thing is going to bring us to the point where we're as safe as we want to be, but each one of these pieces that we move on and we get approved only makes our families, the communities that we live in, and the state that we live in safer. And I said at that point in time, if Senator Lauria's and Representative Caldwell's legislation passed, we would come together again and celebrate the signing of this legislation, and also share why this legislation is important. And we thank those who are here to tell us exactly that because of their own personal experiences. Just like the All-Star Moms, which I spent a great deal of time with the Lieutenant Governor today, I thank those families for the courage to share their stories. And today, I thank those who are willing to share their personal stories so that it becomes real and the advocacy becomes, it becomes important, that advocacy. We never know the actual number of injuries and fatalities averted by the work you have done in this session, but rest assured this law will save lives. So thank you, Senator Lauria. Thank you, Representative Caldwell. Tony from Moms Demand Action and Melissa from the Coalition Against Gun Violence are here too. Let's recognize those. I understand you just got back from a national conference on gun safety where you spread the word about safe storage legislation right here in Rhode Island, and thank you for representing Rhode Island at those conferences. Those national conferences are very important as we share stories together and we build coalitions that are like-minded in terms of creating safe communities to live in. Today we're going to hear from Pat, an advocate who understands the grief that comes from losing someone who you love to preventable tragedy. As I said, families and individuals who share their story, it takes courage, but it is very important. So we thank them for sharing their stories. I know there are other survivors in the audience, and please know your advocacy is making a difference. Now I'd like to turn the mic over to Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos. Sabina?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor. I want to thank the Senate President and the Speaker for the hard work that all of your members have done this year to get us to this point. And especially I also want to thank all the advocates, the mothers on demand, in all of the work that you have done and the coalition also to make sure that we get to this point. I want to give a special thanks, just like the Governor did, and acknowledge Senator Lauria and Representative Caldwell. Seeing that both of you working tenaciously to make sure that this legislation passed is inspiring to see you working. So thank you so much for the work that you do. As the Governor said, this legislation is going to save lives. And we will not know how many, but one is one too many. So thanks for the work that you have done, because the public safety starts at home. And we want to make sure that whenever our children are playing or get invited to a play day, we want to make sure, have the peace of mind that they're not going to be at risk of being at some place that that person owns a gun and is not going to be secure. So thank you to the advocates that worked so hard to make this legislation a reality. We are so thankful to all of you as elected officials that represent the state of Rhode Island, but also as our mothers and fathers. We want to say thank you for your hard work. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Secretary Youngberg.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you to all my colleagues in government. Many of the legislators here today have been in this fight for a long time. I was speaking before the program that when I came into the General Assembly 11 years ago, we just started this fight. Teresa Tansey and I moved the first piece of legislation that would make a difference. But you know, what's indisputable is that states with strict gun control laws are safer places to live. And we have done work over the course of these 11 years to mitigate the awful damage done by gun violence. And this is one more step, and we have one more to go in that march toward being that model state that does these things for the betterment of our community overall. I want to take special time here to talk about the two prime sponsors. Senator Lauria and I walked the district that she represents, and she was a fierce advocate before she ran for office on behalf of the issues we're all here to advocate for. But I don't think there could be a more effective person to move this legislation in the Senate. I don't think there's been a more effective first-term senator than Senator Lauria, and so she is all that she is advertised to be. Representative Caldwell is my friend and my former colleague, and if you don't know, but I think you know, she has been harassed and tormented, and emails that have been vicious, and things said about her and her family, and through it all, she held her head high, she kept moving toward the goal, she never backed down, and here she is today making Rhode Island a safer place. So I'm proud of her. To the advocates in the room, Moms Demand Action, the coalition, thank you. This does not happen without grassroots effort, and you are the epitome of grassroots effort. It's my honor to introduce Treasurer James Diosif.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. It's good to be with you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, my friend, the Secretary of State, the Speaker, Senate President, all my colleagues in government, and my friends in red and orange. Today is such an important day. I know we've been through this, and this is an important day as we witness safe storage be signed into law. And this isn't about taking anyone's rights away, it's about protecting our community. It's simple. Safe gun storage saves lives. No one should have to face the unimaginable grief of losing a loved one because of an unsecured firearm. Under this law, responsible safe storage requirements will help prevent these senseless, unnecessary deaths and protect the thousands of children living in homes with unsecured guns. Basic safety standards will prevent senseless, needless accidental shootings, suicides, and other gun deaths every year. As a dad of two young ones, I know now that with this important step, I will feel much safer that my kids can go out, play, go to school, etc. I want you all to help me welcome to the stage with a very thunderous round of applause to the next guest that I'm going to invite, the next Senator Campbell. We had many conversations from many years ago, and it's so good to see you in the General Assembly and being such an incredible leader. Congratulations.
It is truly an honor to be here representing the Senate to celebrate our latest victory for gun safety in Rhode Island. I'm extremely proud to have sponsored the Safe Storage bill, and I'm extremely proud to be in front of some of the friends that I sat with at former bill signings just in this room. I'm incredibly grateful to this community that this common sense safety measure is now law in our state. I want to thank President Dominic Ruggiero and Majority Leader Brian Pearson for their leadership and support for this legislation. I also want to thank Judiciary Committee Chair Dawn Oyer for her work to bring this important bill through the committee process and for holding my hand every step of the way. I want to extend my appreciation to so many Senate colleagues for their support. I truly believe that it was the Senate's early and decisive leadership on this issue that made today's bill signing ceremony possible. Some of my fellow senators are here with us today, and I'd like to acknowledge them. We've already acknowledged President Ruggiero, Leader Pearson, Whip Lawson, Chair Oyer, Senator DeMario, Senator Mountain, Senator Burke, Senator Basilian, Senator Miller, Senator Quezada, and Senator Yu. I also want to recognize and thank Governor Dan McKee, House Speaker Joe Shekarchi, and a special thanks to Representative Justine Caldwell, who sponsored this legislation in the House and has been a champion for gun safety for a very long time. We were advocates together with Moms Demand Action not too long ago, and it's amazing to be here together today to sign this bill. As a former trauma nurse at Rhode Island Hospital, I witnessed firsthand the damage that a gunshot wound can do to a human body. Thankfully, I have never had to see those wounds on a child, but far too many of my colleagues have. In the United States, gun violence is a public health emergency for our children, and firearms are the #1 killer of kids. Across the country, we have increasingly seen the tragic consequences of unsafe firearm storage. We've experienced it here in Rhode Island as well. This trend and the toll on our communities that we simply cannot accept. Safe Storage takes the same approach that we've taken with other serious health and safety risks for kids. We have insurance mandates for pediatric cancer coverage because it's not acceptable to not do everything we can to save the life of a sick child. We have required seatbelts, airbags, and other collision protections in vehicles because not doing everything we can to prevent kids from dying from car accidents is unacceptable. But it's gun violence, not cancer, and not car accidents that are the #1 leading cause of death for children. It's unacceptable for us to not do everything we can to prevent the loss of young lives from gun violence. I have often said that this legislation is the seatbelt law of responsible gun ownership. It respects the rights of gun owners and asks only that they store their firearms safely and securely. That's something responsible gun owners already do, and it's extremely reasonable to ask everyone who exercises their right to own a firearm to safely secure the weapon. Today we celebrate a victory for health and safety of our state, and especially for our children. Thank you to everyone who has been part of this victory and for making this day possible. Co-sponsor from the House, Representative Justine Caldwell.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for being here. So as a few people have mentioned, it was 6 years ago today, my freshman year in January, when I didn't even know how to turn right or left out of the elevator to get to the House or Senate chamber. And I introduced 3 bills to ban assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, and a safe storage bill. And I thought to myself, okay, the assault weapons and the magazines can be like a pretty heavy lift, but who could ever possibly argue or have a problem with a bill that required you to store your firearms safely? And then in December, I went with 2 of my House colleagues to Washington, D.C., Representative Jason Knight and Representative Jen Boylan. And we were there with legislators from around the country who are gun safety advocates in their legislatures. And they heard that we were from Rhode Island. And so they were like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. You're from a blue state. You have a Democratic supermajority. Your gun bills must just sail through, like we're on like a sunset cruise in Newport. But those of us in this room all know better, right? We know that our opponents have become increasingly unmoored from reality, and that they say guns only solve problems, and that they never, under any circumstances, create them. But it was stories from our own communities that show us how wrong they are. No, I'm going to do now looking at it because I'm trying to make you feel better. stories of Dylan Beans, who we heard who was killed with an unsecured firearm in Johnston, and stories like we're going to hear of Patty's sister, who's also taken from this earth with an unsecured firearm. And so I'm so grateful to have you all here today. And I also want to give my thank yous to my House colleagues. And I don't have a list, so I'm going to do it by sight. And I'm going to do it because it really took a huge movement to make this happen. And I want to make sure everybody is acknowledged. We have Representative Knight, who has our bill to ban assault weapons, which we will hopefully be back to next year. And Whip Kazarian, and Michelle McGaw, and Rebecca Pislak, and June Speakman, and Minnie Felix, Anthony B. Simone, Jen Boylan, Teresa Tansey, Carol McEntee, Leader Blazewski, Kathy Fogarty, sorry, I could never forget. These are the people we really want in a foxhole with you when you're looking to get a big bill over the finish line. Oh, Jeff Lella, sorry, I was thinking of you when I talked to Dylan, but I also really want to thank Speaker Shikarchi, who never once in 6 years has not answered my phone call about a gun bill. I really appreciate that. And with that, I'd like to introduce my friend Patty. We did it.
I'm so deeply humbled to be standing here before you today. My name is Patty Alley, and I am a councilwoman from South Kingstown and a volunteer with Moms Demand Action. I am here today because on June 26, 2020, I lost my sister to gun suicide. My sister used her partner's gun, which he habitually stashed in a location known to all. Theirs was a tumultuous and toxic relationship, and when she was at her lowest point, she used the weapon to end her life. One of the first things I learned after Allie died was that Rhode Island had only weak laws regarding gun storage, and that the law that was in existence would do nothing to hold her partner accountable for his reckless actions. My father always taught me that with great power comes great responsibility, and by any measure, guns meet that standard. I could not accept that there was no legal requirement for responsibility or accountability, and so I joined Representative Justine Caldwell's long fight to make secure storage of firearms the law in the state of Rhode Island. Today, Rhode Island joins the ranks of the growing number of states with secure firearm storage laws. The people in the room right now have been working towards this moment for a very long time, and we will cross the finish line with the stroke of Governor McKee's pen. We the people, each one of us here, have worked to make this happen. We have achieved real change that will save lives and prevent families like mine from experiencing the tragedy of a life lost to gun violence. Standing here right now, I can feel the energy and the love from everyone in this room, and it comforts me to imagine Allie and Essence and Dylan looking down on us now and surrounding us with their light and love. By contributing what each one of us could as individuals to the common good, we have made common sense firearms safe storage the law, and that will help to keep Rhode Islanders safe. It is often said that women multiply and enlarge what is entrusted to them, and that's what my fellow moms have done, to transform the raw grit of my grief into a beautiful pearl. I found myself in a very dark place with emotions I had never experienced when Allie died. It was the summer of 2020, the pandemic was raging, we were all isolated, it was a time of civil unrest, There were protests in the streets, and the future was uncertain. In the earliest stages of my grief, it was Jennifer Boylan, who was a mom, and now Representative Jennifer Boylan, who helped me believe that my words could be useful in the fight for secure storage laws. She and my fellow moms reassured me that my pain and grief could serve a greater purpose, and that moms would take whatever I was able to share and make it count. That's what you've done, and for that I am incredibly grateful and deeply humbled. You have traveled with me through the stage of grief with a level of compassion and kindness that met me wherever I was. I think especially of Amy Herlihy, whose smiling eyes and pureness of spirit gently accompanied me to my car late one night when it had all become too much for me to stay. Every single person here assembled, from the governor to the general officers, Speaker Shekarchi, leaders in the Senate President, and the Senate Majority Leader, and our fellow moms, Senator Loria and Representative Caldwell, who sponsored the bill and helped us get it over the finish line. Especially close to my heart and is what I like to think of as my home team, and that's the women of South County, most especially my own Representative Carol Hagan McKee, my dear friend Kathy Fogarty, Representative Kathy Fogarty, and my dear friend Teresa Tansey, and they're all from South Kingstown, so I could never have made it through without all of these women. Most importantly, it's the advocates in this room who have really made this happen. By showing up week after week, year after year in red and orange t-shirts, we demanded change and our leaders heard our pleas. This is what democracy looks like. And a special word of thanks to my representative and dear friend, Carol Hagan McKee. There's no one who has been more of a support to me personally and to all of us collectively through her role on the Judiciary Committee with Chairman Craven. I knew nothing about the legislative process or how a bill becomes a law. Rep. McKee always took the time to answer my questions and encouraged me not to give up, that what I was doing mattered, and that we could make it to this day. And she was right. Most personally, I want to thank my husband, Doug, for all he has done to allow me the time and space to devote myself to this cause. Your support truly has been the wind beneath my wings as you have traveled this path with me. To my daughter, my niece, and the kids who have grown in my heart, never forget that there is always a path forward. You can make change and make things better. Don't ever give up. Problems in life are temporary. There's always hope, and don't ever think you're alone. There's a time for everything under the sun, and today is a time for celebration. Today is a day of hope, and that is especially poignant for us as Rhode Islanders, where that is our state motto. We will never be able to change the past, but to have hope for our future is everything. This new law includes an educational component that will be a solid foundation for our children to learn about gun safety from an early age. The idea of a better and safer future for Rhode Islanders is one of the best reasons for hope that I can think of. So let us celebrate today and give thanks for what we have achieved. Thank you.
Melissa and Tony were just in DC, and I think you have a little something that you wanted to give the governor.
We have a special gift. So now you don't have to decide if you're going to wear your Gun Violence t-shirt or your mom's man.
Yes, that's a good, get that picture. I'll get this on so that we can kind of share this together.
We're one team.
One team. One team. Okay, come on over. We'd love to have all the legs and of course, what's that? Yeah. Diana in the building?
Diana, do you want to get up?
Maddie's got to get in the front
I'm going to move out of this picture.
You got to get the front.
Yeah, you need to get, we're all
We got time. Come on up.
Good? Yep.
Yep, still room over here a little bit if you want to, anybody wants to file in. If not, we're good. All right. Yes, this is great. I'm really happy to sign on behalf of the people of the state of Rhode Island. Where is I want to get Patty. Where's Patty? Patty, right there. Thank you, Patty. Yes. And where is Diana? Diana, there you go. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story. Like I said, it takes a lot of courage to share a story, but it means so much because it really resonates. Pam, where are you? Pam?
right here.
Go, Pam. Is it good? Yeah. And what do I got here? Do I got the House? I got the Senate. We got the Senate. Right there. There you go. Thank you. And then you can hold that up. Okay? And there you go. And that picture will go around the world. Hey, Ray, you good, Ray? You good? You good, Kathy?
We're good now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Ian,
How are you,
good
Chad?
to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah?
How are things?
Doing good.
How are you? What's going on? Good to see you. What are you phone call? Grab my shit.